The room was so quiet it hurt the ears. Thousands of men stood pressed together, chest to back, shoulder to shoulder. Their heads were shaved clean. Their eyes were wide but empty. Armed soldiers watched from above with rifles pointed down. No one spoke. No one moved. A single shout echoed through the concrete hall, sharp and cold, and every man froze at once. This was CECOT Megaprison in El Salvador, the Terrorism Confinement Center. This was the place the world feared. In the middle of the hall, a man named John Miller felt his legs shake. Sweat ran down his bare scalp. He wanted to look up, but he was afraid. He wanted to speak, but silence was the rule. Around him were thousands of other prisoners, all locked inside the same moment of fear. Soldiers walked between the lines, boots hitting the floor like drums of war. Then the lights went out. For one long second, darkness swallowed everyone. Someone screamed. The scream was cut short. And that was when John realized something terrible was about to happen. 2 years earlier, John Miller was not standing in a prison hall. He was sitting on a broken plastic chair outside his small house. The sun was bright. Children were playing down the street. Life looked normal, but it was not. John lived in a place where gangs ruled the night. MS-13 and Barrio 18 painted walls with signs of fear. People paid money just to stay alive. Police were scared. Families were tired. Every week, someone disappeared. John was not a gang leader. He was a delivery driver. But his cousin Mike was deep in trouble. Mike ran with the wrong people. One night, Mike came to John's door shaking. "They are coming," Mike said. "The gangs are losing control. The government is angry." John did not understand yet, but soon everyone would. In 2023, the president of El Salvador declared a state of emergency. Soldiers filled the streets. Police kicked down doors. The message was clear. The gangs were done. Thousands were arrested in days. Then tens of thousands. People called it a war. They built a prison like no other. Bigger than any before. Stronger. Harder. Faster to fill. They named it CECOT. John watched the news every night. Images showed prisoners packed tight, heads shaved, sitting on the floor with hands on their knees. Guards with masks. Walls topped with wire. Silence everywhere. "They say no outdoor time," John told his wife Sarah. "They say you don't talk. You don't move." Sarah hugged their son tighter. Then one morning, the trucks came. John was pulled from his bed before sunrise. Soldiers shouted. His house was searched. His phone was taken. They asked about Mike. They asked about names John did not know. "I am not a gang member," John said again and again. No one answered. He was loaded onto a bus with black windows. Inside, men cried. Others prayed. The bus drove for hours. When it stopped, the doors opened to a place that looked like a fortress. CECOT. The first rule was silence. The second rule was silence. The third rule was silence. Guards shaved John's head. They took his clothes. They gave him a number. He stopped being John Miller and became inmate 71432. Days blurred together. Lights on. Lights off. Meals pushed through slots. No clocks. No phones. No lawyers. No court dates. John shared a cell with dozens of men. They slept standing or sitting. The air was thick and hot. If someone spoke, guards punished everyone. At night, John thought about Sarah and his son, Ethan. He counted breaths to stay calm. He promised himself he would survive. Then one day, the cell doors opened. "Move," a guard said. They were taken to the main hall. That hall. The one with thousands of men. The one where silence screamed louder than sound. John stood there now, packed so tight he could feel another man's heartbeat against his back. Soldiers watched from above. Cameras rolled. This was the image shown to the world. Strength. Control. Fear. Some people outside said it was justice. Others said it was cruelty. Human rights groups warned about no trials, no end dates, no voices. Inside, none of that mattered. Only survival mattered. Hours passed. Legs ached. Men fainted. Guards dragged bodies away. John's mouth was dry, his vision blurred. Then a loudspeaker crackled. A voice spoke slowly, cold and strong. It talked about order, about safety, about a new future. John listened, but his eyes fixed on the lights above. They flickered, once, twice, then went dark. The hall exploded into noise. Shouts, boots, metal slamming. John felt hands push him forward. Someone fell. Someone else was pulled away. A guard yelled orders that made no sense in the dark. Red emergency lights flashed on. John saw soldiers rushing toward one corner of the hall. A fight had started. Or maybe something worse. A siren screamed. John was shoved to the floor. A boot pressed against his back. Zip ties cut into his wrists. Above the noise, one guard shouted, "Lock it down. Lock it down now." The gates slammed shut. The doors sealed. And deep inside CECOT Megaprison, something had gone very wrong. The siren did not stop. It screamed through the walls, through the floor, through John's bones. Red lights spun like angry eyes. Guards ran past him, boots heavy, voices sharp. John lay face down on the cold concrete, his hands tied tight behind his back, his cheek pressed against the floor. He tasted dust and sweat. "Don't move," a guard shouted. John did not move. He did not breathe. All around him, men were crying out. Some begged. Some prayed. Some were silent, frozen by fear. A man near John started coughing hard, like he was choking. Another man tried to sit up and was slammed back down with a boot. This was not order. This was chaos. The lights flickered again, then went out fully. Total darkness. For a moment, the world disappeared. Then flashlights snapped on. Bright white beams cut through the dark. Soldiers aimed their rifles at the massive bodies on the floor. Eyes down, hands still. Silence. John squeezed his eyes shut. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, the siren stopped. The red lights faded. The main lights slowly came back on. John dared to look. In the far corner of the hall, a group of guards stood in a tight circle. On the ground between them was a man not moving. Blood spread across the floor, dark and thick. John's stomach turned. A medic rushed in, but John could tell by the way the guards stepped back that it was already too late. No one said his name. No one asked questions. Two guards lifted the body and carried it away like a broken chair. Then the loudspeaker came on again. "Return to your units," the cold voice said. "Order will be restored." Order. That word felt like a lie. John was pulled to his feet and shoved forward. The line moved slowly. Every step hurt. His wrists burned where the ties cut his skin. His legs shook, but he forced them to move. As he walked, John noticed something strange. The guards looked tense. Not angry, not calm, afraid. Back in the cell, the door slammed shut with a loud metal crash. Darkness returned, broken only by a small light near the ceiling. The cell was packed tighter than before. Some men had tears running down their faces. Others stared at the wall, empty and lost. No one spoke. Hours passed. Then, quietly, a voice whispered, "He's dead." John did not turn his head. He did not answer. "They killed him," the voice said again. He tried to rush a guard when the lights went out. John swallowed. Or maybe the guard panicked. Another voice whispered from the darkness. No one knows. The whispers stopped when footsteps came near the door. That night, John did not sleep. The next days were worse. Food came late. Water was less. Guards were rougher. Anyone who moved too slow was punished. Anyone who looked up was punished. Silence was no longer just a rule. It was a weapon. John's body grew weak. His thoughts grew dark. He began to count days by meals. 1 meal, 2 meals, 3 meals. That was one day. On what he thought was day 10, something new happened. The cell door opened, and a guard called out numbers. 71432, the guard said. John's heart jumped. Step forward. John stepped out. His legs almost gave out. They led him down a long hallway. Cameras followed every step. The walls were clean, gray, and cold. No windows. No sound. They stopped in a small room. a table, 2 chairs, a bright light overhead. A man in a uniform sat down across from John. He was older, with gray hair and tired eyes. His name badge said Officer Harris. "Sit," Officer Harris said. John sat. Officer Harris looked at a folder, then at John. "You say you're not a gang member," Harris said calmly. "That's right," John said. His voice sounded strange, like it did not belong to him. "You say you never carried a weapon." "Yes." "You say you never paid money to MS-13 or Barrio 18. "Yes." Officer Harris leaned back. "Then why were you arrested?" John opened his mouth, then closed it. "I don't know," he said. Officer Harris studied him for a long moment. "Your cousin," Harris said. "Mike Miller. He was arrested last month." John's chest tightened. "Where is he?" John asked. Officer Harris did not answer. Instead, he stood up. "This is not a trial," Harris said. "This is not court. This is information gathering." "Am I going to be released?" John asked. Officer Harris paused at the door. "Follow the rules," he said. "Stay alive." The door closed. John was taken back to his cell. That night, something changed. A man in the cell, tall and thin, slowly leaned toward John. His name was David. John had noticed him before. David watched everything. He moved carefully. He never panicked. "They're scared," David whispered. "Who?" John whispered back. "The guards," David said. "The prison." John frowned. "What do you mean?" David glanced toward the door. "This place is too full," he said. "Too many men. Too much anger. One mistake and it all breaks." John thought about the blackout, the dead man, the fear in the guard's eyes. "What happens then?" John asked. David's voice dropped lower. "Then they remind the world why this prison exists." The next morning, the doors opened early. Guards rushed in, yelling orders. Men were dragged out of cells. John was pushed into the hall again. This time, the mood was different. There was no silence. There was rage. A group of prisoners had refused to kneel. It started small. One man stood too long. Another refused to put his hands behind his head. The guards reacted fast. Batons swung. Boots kicked. Rifles slammed into bodies. John watched a man fall and not get up. The message was clear. Obey. Later that day, John heard something new. Helicopters. The sound thundered above the prison. Cameras returned. More soldiers arrived. This was not just punishment. This was a show. The government wanted the world to see control restored. John stood in line again under bright lights. Cameras pointed at him. His shaved head shined. His eyes burned. He wondered if Sarah was watching, if Ethan would see him like this someday. As the cameras rolled, a sudden shout broke out from the far side of the hall. A group of prisoners surged forward. Guards raised their weapons. Time slowed. John felt the air change. Someone had crossed a line. A loud crack filled the hall. Then another, and another. John dropped to the floor as screams exploded around him, knowing that whatever had just started could not be stopped. The cracks were not thunder. They were gunshots. The sound tore through the hall like glass breaking inside John's head. Men screamed. Bodies fell. Boots ran. Orders were shouted and lost in the noise. John pressed his face to the floor, arms over his head, heart pounding so hard it felt like it would burst. Down, down, guards yelled. More shots rang out, sharp and fast. John felt the floor shake as soldiers moved in lines. The smell of fear filled the air. Someone near him cried for their mother. Someone else prayed out loud before a baton slammed them silent. Then, just as fast as it started, it stopped. Silence came back, heavy and cruel. John lifted his head a little. His hands shook. Across the hall, several men lay still. Blood streaked the concrete in dark lines. Guards stood over them, breathing hard, weapons raised. The loudspeaker came on again. "This facility is under full control," the cold voice said. "Any resistance will be met with force." Force. John understood now. This was not just a prison. It was a warning. The prisoners were dragged away. The hall was cleaned. Cameras kept rolling. The world would see strong walls and quiet men. It would not see fear in their eyes. Back in the cell, David sat beside John, his face pale. "This is what I meant," David whispered. "They show power when they feel weak." John nodded. His throat was too tight to speak. That night, something unexpected happened. The lights stayed on. Guards walked past the cell again and again. Radios crackled. Orders were short and sharp. John sensed tension, like the air before a storm. Near midnight, the door opened. 71432, a guard said. "Stand up." John's heart dropped. He stepped forward, legs heavy. David looked at him, eyes full of questions. "Stay alive," David whispered. John was taken down the same long hallway. But this time, they did not stop at the interview room. They went deeper, past locked doors, past warning signs. They entered a small office. Officer Harris was there again. "Sit," Harris said. John sat. Harris looked tired, older than before. "You were present during the disturbance," Harris said. "Yes," John answered. "You didn't move," Harris said. "You followed orders." John nodded. Harris leaned forward. "This place is under the eyes of the world," he said. "What happens here matters." John swallowed. "Am I being punished?" he asked. Harris shook his head. "No," he said quietly. "You're being evaluated." "For what?" John asked. Harris hesitated. "For release," he said. John felt like the room tilted. "Release," he whispered. "There are mistakes," Harris said. "Too many arrests. Too fast. Some innocent people are here." John's breath caught. "Then why?" he started. Harris raised a hand. "This is not justice," Harris said. "This is damage control." John thought of the dead men in the hall. The silence. The shaved heads. The fear. "When?" John asked. Harris stood up. "I don't know," he said. "But if it happens, it will be sudden." The door opened. John was led back to his cell. Days passed. Or weeks. Time had no meaning. John kept his head down. He followed every rule. He did not look up. He did not speak unless spoken to. One morning, the cell door opened early. 71432, a guard said. John stepped forward. "Collect your things." He had nothing. They led him through halls he had never seen before. Past offices. Past exits. Finally, a heavy door opened. Sunlight hit his eyes like fire. John squinted. He had forgotten how bright the world was. They handed him clothes. A paper. No apology. No explanation. "Go," a guard said. John stepped outside CECOT Megaprison. Behind him, the walls rose high and silent. Watchtowers stared down. Helicopters circled above. John breathed in fresh air for the first time in months. He was free, but his legs shook. His mind was still inside. Days later, John sat in his small house again. Sarah held him and cried. Ethan stared at him like he was seeing a ghost. At night, John woke up screaming. He saw shaved heads, heard sirens, felt boots on his back. On the news, CECOT was praised by some and condemned by others. Human rights groups spoke of missing men, no trials, no end dates. The government showed clean halls and silent prisoners. John knew the truth lived somewhere in between. CECOT was real. The fear was real. The power was real. And thousands of men were still inside, standing shoulder to shoulder, waiting in silence, not knowing when or if the door would ever open for them.